All right, welcome back to another replay. This time I'm doing something a little different. I'm playing the Empire with a bit of a vanguard force against the Dwarfs. And often the Dwarfs, I think what they expect is maybe a bit of an artillery duel versus Empire, right? So this Dwarf player, who's a very good player, um, Mackie, I think his name was, J Mackie, he brought one, two, three Dwarf cannons. I guess, oh, sorry, two cannons and one organ gun. So I guess he was hoping to win the artillery duel against the Empire. He went really heavy in on that, and he supported the artillery with a master engineer. So I guess between the master engineer, well, also a runesmith, master engineer, runesmith, and the three artillery pieces, he was probably felt pretty confident he would win the artillery fight, which likely he would have had I gone heavy with artillery. But I chose not to do that. Like I said, I brought more of a cavalry force, and I left most of the chaff infantry at home. I was gonna rely on these elite Demigryph knights to do some work. So Demigryph knights are kind of pretty heavy hitting infantry, weapon strength of 58, and charge bonus of 60, with 125 armor. Gives the dwarfs a lot to think about as long as they don't get shot up by the cannons first. So I knew I was on the clock in this game. Like I only had a certain amount of time to try and pick the dwarfs apart before they just got blasted to hell by these cannons. So the question was I going to be able to get into the cannon and take them offline, or basically cycle charge my way through all of the infantry before they ran out of models. To support them, I brought one warrior priest, and on this side, Volkmar the Grim and a Grey Wizard. And the Grey Wizard, I think, just pitted shades to punish the dwarves if they went into a typical defensive ball. I needed something to sort of keep them honest, so I brought that vortex spell. I mean, dwarves do have magic resistance, but damage is damage, and if they're super balled up, it's still going to hurt them. And the Occam's Mindraiser is a pretty good choice, I think, with Demigryph Knights. Demigryph Knights have a weapon strength of 58 with armor pen, so if you put Occam's Mindraiser on top of that, they're getting another plus 40% damage, right? So plus 40% on 50 with all those unit models is a lot of damage. And then the Warrior Priest over here. So I split Volkmar and the Warrior Priest. The Warrior Priest can give... sorry, that's Volkmar's stat line, but basically they do the same thing. Warrior Priest gives melee attack and damage resistance, and Volkmar does the same thing, just more of it. Did I bring the banishment spell with Volkmar? I'm not sure. No, I did not. So, no, you're not going to see any banishment. I guess, actually, he needs his little chariot thing to be able to do that, so that was a bit of a stupid question. He's just on his horse right now. So the Vanguard's moving into position here, and my opponent has wisely sent some miners to sort of soak some damage. But I am trying to get in, I guess, maybe to these hammers, which are more of a high-cost infantry. There's some thunders here trying to scream me out as well. But yeah, Free Company Militia, which I think should be a staple of most Vanguard forces because they do offer a lot of flexibility in terms of shooting and in terms of, if needed, they can fight a little bit. I mean, they have a weapon strength of, let's see, 28 and 25 melee attack, 25 melee defense. So it's not bad. Like, aside from their leadership, those guys can scrap okay in combat. And they might do okay versus miners. They don't have an armor pen, but they can shoot a little bit against the miners because these ones don't have blasting charges. So I can get some free hits in here on the flanks, and yeah, give them some problems. And in the meantime, I'm trying to be very patient with everything else. I've pulled the Demis for the most part back, and I've rotated the other ones around. So this was going to be one of those matchups where my micro ability was definitely going to be tested to the max. And I've tried to spread the Dwarf player a little bit, force him to spread out and decide where he's going to commit his forces while trying to envelop him. So the cannons are sort of in a new backline, I guess, let's say. And I'm coming in basically three different positions to try and attack him. But I wanted to wait until everything was in position so I could get that multi-front attack before I committed to the engagement. So the Thunderers do swap out with the Miners because the Miners were taking free damage from the Free Company. But I do have Zintler's Right Guard, and I do have Outriders with grenade launchers. And two Outriders with grenade launchers, if they're in range, they're going to wreck these Thunderers. The grenades are no joke, man. They do so much damage. And the charge from the Zintlers is also going to just put a world of hurt on them. Organ guns shooting in here on the Outriders with grenade launchers, that's going to hurt for sure. But I'd much rather that the organ gun is shooting in at skirmish cav than my super expensive Demigriff Knight. So I will live with that. Meanwhile, the Demis do sneak past this one unit of Longbeards over here. I mean, a few of them do get caught up. 2 units got caught up. But the Warrior Priest is able to pop some damage resistance and melee attack buffs, which will hopefully help them get through at least a little bit of and put a little bit of damage out of the Longbeards. And I got into the cannon, which was really all I was after here. I wasn't trying to fight the Longbeards. I just wanted to, pin them with these ones, and then the other units snuck around, took out the cannon. It's pretty. I took off one. I took out one of the models. And I'm probably going to kill the other one pretty soon too. The Thunderers got tied up at the Demis, whereas the Warrior Priest was punting the cannon. Over here, I lost my Zintler's right guards, so that's unfortunate. I forgot to pull them out. But the Outriders are doing some pretty good damage here on the Hammers. That is until the Bugman's Rangers sent them off for a little trip into the countryside. So balance bar is pretty even, shading slightly in my opponent's favor. There's a lot of missile play being traded here, Grenadiers versus Thunderers, and it looks like Grenadiers are getting the upper hand here. Like those grenades hit really, really hard. Over here, Volkmar is going toe-to-toe with some Longbeards, some Demis, trying to pull away here. I did again. I managed to get around the Longbeards by pulling them out and then take the organ gun offline. So without the cannons, that makes it a lot less stressful for me. With the Demis, because I don't have to worry about them getting shot up as much. And I am able to get into the Thunderers here. So basically the Vanguard force is losing for the most part, but they've done some work against the Thunderers, and they've allowed my other units to really take out the cannons, which is what I needed them to do. All of the missile units were targeting these skirmishers over here instead of the Demis, which were really the biggest threat all along. And it looks like there's one cannon crew left here, but they're no longer on their guns. So things are looking up for me. Even though the balance bar is dead even, if you can take away the Dwarf shooting, then you've and the Dwarfs have no mobility. Like here they have no gyrocopters, right? So there's nothing that can interrupt the charges or pin the Demis. That means that I can cycle charge as much as I want with those Demis. And yeah, so this you see a lot. Like Dwarfs, when they lose the mobility advantage and they don't have shooting, the natural instinct is to just ball up, right? Because if you have all of your units together, then it gets sort of tart pity and it's really hard to kill everything. But the Pit of Shades comes down here and just keeps them honest, does a ton of damage. Yeah, Dwarfs have... they do have magic resistance, but still, if you're going to ball up that hard, I mean... the Grey Wizard will make you pay. And Master Engineer gets fully surrounded by the Demis. Grey Wizard, I believe, is going to join the party over there. Meanwhile, Rune Lord and Dwarf Lord are going to be probably giving it to these Demis pretty hard, but they are surrounded there. Volkmar is sort of bouncing around between them. The Longbeards have caught up some Demis, but I'm trying to get away from there. Over here, a lot of units have been pulled away. I mean, they were able to, I guess, protect that cannon crew, prevent me from wiping it out, but I peeled the unit off here, and I think there's one unit of, yeah, the miners that are chasing my Outriders to oblivion, but I do have free company here, so I've got 2 units that can basically shoot in on it from both sides and hopefully take it out. These units that were earlier pressured from in the Vanguard position have rallied and come back, and some Mosh Pit units are coming over here and trying to get into the Demis, but I'm not going to stick around too long. With the Rune Lord, Dwarf Lord nearby, and all of this infantry support coming over, I don't want to be there for any longer than I have to. Balance bar is still dead even. Like, the cannons and artillery pieces are gone, but... there's been no decisive sort of play from myself or my opponent that have really turned the battle around. Some Rangers are coming in here and shooting in on the Demis. The Iron Drakes with the flamethrowers are going to also be shooting in on the Demis, so it's getting really tough for me. But is this another Pit of Shades going to go down here? Let's see. Yeah, there it is. So another 3 units balled up, and the Pit of Shades is doing work. Let's see how the Grey Wizard is doing on kills. He's up to 33, 35. So he's getting around 40 kills. I mean, that's not great, but remember, these are Longbeard Slayers. They're pretty high value units, so I'll take it. And, you know, it is doing HP damage. Like, you look, these are some pretty depleted units now. Demis are able to get a charge in here on the Thunderers, who get a little bit away from this infantry pocket, so that was a fortunate pickup from me. But now the Dwarfs are sort of starting to ball up and do the typical Dwarf thing where they just sit in a ball and there's nothing you can do about it. Fortunately, the Outriders with grenades are not a bad option for dealing with balled up infantry. And if you can start to cycle charge, you can start to do some damage on them as well. And now for the first time, the balance bar is creeping a little bit in my favor. The Thunderers are offline. The last cannon crew has been taken out. And now the Dwarf player has, you know, basically done the Dwarf thing, which is just to go on a big ball of doom. So I'm going to hit the fast forward here. At this point, there's just going to be a little bit of cycle charging from myself while he tries to chase units that he's not going to be able to catch. Big charge going in here on the Hammerers. And yeah, I mean, it was very hard for me to micro all of these different units and prevent them from getting touched by the Dwarf's players. I mean, look, the balance bar is still very, very even, but fortunately I was able to keep him wide and just keep attacking on the periphery and cycle charging like little pockets, because I couldn't fight everything all at once, but if I could fight little bits at a time, then I had a chance to win. And I think my opponent at this point sort of saw the writing was on the wall. Now that he had lost all of his shooting, he couldn't prevent me from cycle charging, and that was the end of that game. But very tough matchup. And yeah, well played to Jay Mackey. So my suggestions, if you are going to play the Dwarfs, I think you should always get some gyrocopters. Those could have harassed all of my Demis all game and caused a ton of problems. And then, you know, it goes without saying, if you're going to play Dwarfs, you got to protect your cannons, because if your cannons go offline, then cavalry can take as long as they need to reposition around you and cycle charge. So maybe the engineer plus 3 cannons was overkill. Maybe drop the master engineer, and you know, with a runesmith and 3 cannons, you're still probably going to be able to outduel anything Empire can throw at you. And yeah, I don't know how much value the Iron Drakes provided either. I mean, they could in theory be good versus state troops, but I think Iron Drakes are specialists at dealing with undead and Skaven. And so bringing them against Empire, I mean, you can maybe do it, but I think you're better off saving them for undead. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great night. Take care. Bye.